Welcome back to Cruder.com. In this next video on Excel tables, we're going to go into how to set them up, how to name them, style them, and turn them into dynamic ranges using real-life examples. Now we're back to the same product sales data table here, and what we're going to do is turn this into an Excel table this time. So instead of just having it in a spreadsheet here, let's turn this into a table by simply pressing Control-T, the shortcut for creating a table. Notice that Excel quickly found our range, but it's actually pulling in our table title, this product sales data, and I don't want that. I just want it selecting the headers and below. So I'm going to manually select this by clicking here, Control-Shift to the right, and then Control-Shift down. And then I'm going to do a Control backspace to pop me up to this active cell so I can see what I'm working with. And yes, right now my table does have headers, so I'm going to leave that checked. So I'm just going to click OK. And quickly, you can see that Excel has formatted our table with blue and white schemes, so it's easy to read. And also, it's given us these drop-down filter sort buttons, so we can quickly do that. No longer do you have to manually put this in with Control-Shift-L, which is the shortcut for this auto filter. And since we're selected on the table right now, notice that we have a new tab on the ribbon here. It's called Design, and right above it, it says Table Tools. So this is another section of options that we can use here. So first of all, let's go ahead and give our table a name. Let's use product_sales and leave it there. Then notice there's some other things that we can do in here. We can create a pivot table from it. We can remove duplicates quickly. We can even convert it back to a normal range like we had it prior to setting it up in a table format. We can include slicers. So instead of using these drop-down buttons to use filtering, we can go ahead and pop back into the ribbon and say, I want to insert some slicers on the product ID. And what happens now is Excel is going to give us this custom box to go ahead and say, I only want to see sales that are for product number 10001, and it's going to filter for just that product ID, or just for 6. Or you can select multiple by holding Control and clicking a bunch of them. Let's clear the filter, and I'm going to delete this slicer for now. Now, those slicers really just make it for a more interactive and quicker way to do the filtering and sorting rather than coming in here and selecting those individual ones that we selected in the slicer. So notice that when I hit OK, I can't really see what I'm filtered on. Yet if I had that slicer still up, you can see exactly what those product IDs were that I was selected on. So that's the benefit of that. Let me cancel or clear this filter. Now let's pop down to the bottom here, Control down, and you can see we're at the bottom. Notice a couple things. So number one, all of our headers are labeled as the header name and not B, C, D, and E, and so forth. So there's no need now to go ahead and freeze our panes within the View tab and freeze panes to be able to see what the column headers are. No, Excel realizes, hey, this person's going to be putting in a big list of items. Let's give him or her those names here on the top instead of something that really doesn't relate like B, C, D, and E. Now the next thing is that we still have access to these buttons, these drop-down arrows, so we can do the filtering. We don't have to scroll all the way back up to the top to find those filters. They're right there for us. Now, what if we want a total row? Do we manually type an AutoSum formula to total up all this? No, within the table tools, actually, you can select a few things. You can say, hey, I want a total row. And by selecting that, Excel gives you a total row. It assumes that this number right here in the far right, that we want to sum it. But we could come in here and say, hey, I just want to average this, or I just want to count it. And I think that normally you'd want to sum it, so I'm going to leave it on sum. And then with the cost, you might want to count this column. Now we could come in here on the price column and we could put in another formula. So it doesn't need to be any of these formulas. These are just the quick ones that Excel has ready. But we could put in, say, typing a sum product formula, and we could grab all of quantity, come up here and say, I want to multiply that against all of price. And right now I'm just going to hit Control backspace to pop down to the bottom. And I'm going to close up my parentheses. So it's going to multiply this column by the price column. And notice how cool this is. All it says is quantity and price. We didn't send up any named ranges in our name manager. So when you read this, it's really saying, hey, anything that's in the price column, no matter if it stops on this row, 11,497, we could go ahead and add another row by going ahead and just hitting tab when we're on the last record or row, and that will automatically create a new row. notice that our formulas get pulled down. This month formula, which is extracting the month number out of the date sold column, that gets pulled down. And then also here on the amount column, this formula saying the quantity times the price is going to give us the amount. All of that's pulled down. Then when I come into my sum product formula, again, I have a dynamic range of quantity coming all the way down to this new record or new row, and same with price. Let me hit enter. Now, like I said in the intro video to this topic, this is the bread and butter of creating a formatted table in Excel. These extending or dynamic ranges. No longer do you have to manage your range and say, oh, I just added another row to my table. Oh no, now I need to update my formula to now include that additional row. Well, here you don't need to do that. So let's just hit enter. Last thing I want to show you is with the design. You can quickly change these designs just by popping down and saying, hey, I want to have it orange, or this style orange, or this color yellow. Let's just stick with this blue though, and you could do some more options by saying, hey, I don't want banded rows. I want to have banded columns though, or banded rows and columns, or no, I don't want to have the columns, but I want to bold my first column or bold my last column. So there's a bunch of different options you can do in here. Just take a peek and see what you like best. And then in the next video, we're going to take a look at how we can write formulas against this table, how we can use this table and turn it into a pivot table. And then lastly, how we can use this table and apply conditional formatting to it.